Hey everybody, so if you're watching this video, you weren't able to attend live class today, which is perfectly fine. But our first question for today is basically what is an exponent? So an exponent is a small number placed to the upper right of a base number, which shows us how many copies of the base number are multiplied together. So if we have an exponent right here, so we have 5 to the 4th here, this 4 is our exponent and our 5 is our base. And what this 5 to the 4 basically means is we're going to multiply 5 4 times. 5 times 5, 4 times. So it'd be 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, and then that eventually gets us to 625. Some examples we have for our exponent is 3 to the second, 3 squared. You can also read it as 3 squared or 3 to the power of 2. 3 times 3 equals 9. We also have 5 cubed, which is when we have an exponent of 3. Or you can say 5 to the power of 3, which is 5 times 5 times 5, and that'll give us 125. When we have 10 to the power of 4, again, it's just 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 4 times, and that gives us 10,000. And then for our last example in there, it is 4 to the 5th, so 4 to the power of 5, and you just do 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, 5 times, and then you get 1,024. So for our first example, how would we write 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 as an exponent? And our answer here is, first we know that our base is going to be a 6, but we just have to count how many times we were multiplying 6 by. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So our answer here, to write it as an exponent, we would just write it as 6 to the 5. Or you can say 6 to the power of 5. Next we have, what is 4 to the power of 3? So remember, when we have 4 to the power of 3, it's basically the same thing as 4 to the 3rd. And that's equal to 4 times 4 times 4. So if we do this shorthandedly, 4 times 4 is 16, and then we got to multiply that by 4, and that would equal 64. So our answer for this one is 64. Our next example is 2 to the 5th, or 2 to the power of 5, and we would just do the same thing as last time. We'd write it out 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 2. The reason I did it so many times is because we have to have 5 2s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And then 16 times 2 is 32. So our answer for 2 to the 5th is 32. So why are exponents so important? Exponents are a shorthand way of indicating repeated repeated multiplication of the same thing by itself. So it allows us to abbreviate something that would otherwise be really tedious to write. So who wants to write 2 to the 5th? We would want to write 2 to the 5th over 2 times 2 times 2 until we get to 5 times. It saves you time. It's used in a lot in science to indicate really large numbers. So next we're going to move on to the order of operations. And something that helped me as a student to remember the order of operations is remembering PEMDAS. And you can also remember it by "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" or "Purple elephants may destroy the school." Order of operations is very important to know because we need to know what to calculate first, second, third, and etc. And it helps us simplify expressions and equations. So our first step in the order of operations is our P in the PEMDAS, or "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." And P stands for parentheses. So we evaluate what's inside a parentheses first in our math problem before anything else. So for example, if we had 2 times parentheses 3 plus 1, we would have to figure out we would have to calculate what's in the parentheses first, and then we could move on. So then we did 2 times parentheses 3 plus 1. We did that 3 plus 1, and that gave us 4. So then 2 times 4 equals 8. So this whole problem is already done for you there. Our next step in the order of operations is exponents. So when we have exponents, we evaluate exponents before we multiply, divide, add, or subtract. So for example, if we had 2 times 3 to the second, we would have to figure out what 3 to the second is before we figure out the rest of the problem. And 3 to the second is 9, which is why 9 is written there. So 2 times 9 equals 18. Next, we have multiplication and division. We multiply and divide before we add or subtract. So for example, in 1 plus 4 divided by 2, I'm not going to do 1 plus 4 first. I got to divide 4 divided by 2 before I even think about adding. So when I do 4 divided by 2, that equals 2, and 1 plus 2 equals 3. Next, we have addition and subtraction. So lastly, adding and subtracting are our last thing on our list when we have a bunch of operations in a problem. And when we have more than one of the same type of operation, we will work from left to right. So if we had, let's say we had 4 times 4 divided by 5. We have multiplication and division in the same problem. So we're not going to divide first. We're just going to work from left to right. So then we do 4 times 4, and then we divide that, whatever we get there, by 5. So in our first example, 6 times 4 plus 2 times 3. So if we look at our PEMDAS, we know we don't have any parentheses, so we're not going to do parentheses first. We don't have any exponents, so we're not going to do anything with exponents. And we do have multiplication, so we're going to multiply first. So if we do 6 times 4, that's 24. And then we're going to leave that plus there. And then 2 times 3 is 6. So then our next step, after we've multiplied, divided, we didn't have any division, we do have addition. So our next step is addition. And I'm going to write that over here, PEMDAS, just for next time, so we don't forget. And then 24 plus 6 is just 30. Our next example is 6 to the second minus 2, parentheses 5 plus 1 plus 3. So this one has a lot more operations in it, but it's perfectly fine. So first, we know we have parentheses, so we're going to start with parentheses. In our parentheses, we have 5 plus 1 plus 3. So 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. I'm going to leave it in parentheses just so we can keep looking at it. Next, we have an exponent. So let's solve our exponent. 6 to the second is also known as 6 times 6, which is 36. Next, we're going to multiply because we do have multiplication. Remember, when a number is right next to a parentheses like that, we're going to multiply. So 2 times 9 is 18. And then we don't have division, so we can skip that. We don't have addition, but we do have subtraction. So we're going to go to subtracting. 36 minus 18 equals 18. So that's our answer to this problem. Alright, so if you weren't in class, please click in the presentation this link, and then you'll do this quizzes just to practice everything we've learned, some practice problems before you do your exit ticket in Edulastic. Have a great day, and let me know if you have any questions.